jury in the above captioned case find the defendant, Brooke Skylar Richardson, not guilty of the offense of aggravated murder.
Whoa, wait, time out. Not so fast there, Missy. Okay, so this week let's talk about Brooke Skylar Richardson. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about her or her case, Brooke is a 20-year-old ex-cheerleader. I'm not sure what this whole ex-cheerleader thing has to do with anything. Oh wait, yeah I do. The media has to sensationalize her and season it up so that it gets the spotlight and brings in the TV ratings. Bring it on. Hey! Anyway, so as I was saying, Brooke is this 20-year-old ex-cheerleader who... Actually, let me go ahead and give you a timeline to break down the events. Maybe this will explain it better. August 2016, Brooke was involved with a gentleman named Trey Johnson. It was around that month when she got officially pregnant. She ended her relationship with him at the end of the month as she blocked him on social media, cutting him out of her life. Fast forward about 8 months later, Brooke suspected she was preggers, and looking for verification, she went to her local OB-GYN doc. And it was there in late April that she was informed she was 32 weeks pregnant, and it was estimated that she would deliver the baby within weeks. Now, when the doctor spoke to her about her pregnancy, one would think that she would be ecstatic with joy, as most baby announcements are, right? No, in this case, Brooke kept repeating to the doctor that she cannot have this baby, and she was adamant about telling no one that she was pregnant. According to the doctor, an ultrasound was done to confirm that she was pregnant, and even the doctor showed her heartbeat, just as a kind gesture to maybe help with a patient who's having trouble accepting that they're pregnant, which, by the way, the ultrasound didn't show anything abnormal. But anyways, go back to Brooke. Brooke was still upset about seeing the ultrasound, and at one point said she can't have the baby because she'd be going to college in the fall. The doctor told her that just because she was pregnant, this did not mean she'd have to raise the baby, and that he even told her to call him if she ever had thoughts of wanting to harm herself and or the baby. By the way, this was the last time the doctor ever saw of Brooke, as she never bothered to follow up with him. He even tried to call her later on after another staff member tried to contact her to no avail. May the 5th, 2017, prom night. Brooke that night was having super bad cramping. To keep her pregnancy a secret, she told her new boyfriend that she started her period because she was determined to keep her secret. Apparently, no one at the prom knew that she was pregnant because she was tiny, most likely from an eating disorder, which I'll get to later. May the 7th, 2017. Okay, so we're 2 days after the prom, and a little over a week after her one and only appointment with her OB-GYN doc. Brooke self-delivered the baby in her house without waking up her parents or her brother. She buried the poor baby, whom she named Annabelle, in the backyard. May the 8th, 2017. Brooke sends text messages to her mother. Brooke sent the following text message to her mother the day after she gave birth. I'm literally speechless with how happy I am. My belly is back. OMG. I am never, ever, ever, ever letting it get like this again. You're about to see me look freaking better than before. OMG. Now, her mother reportedly was very obsessive, and she would talk to Brooke in a way that was cheering her on about losing weight. These types of texts back and forth were not a new thing, by the way, and up until then had been going on for 6 years. July 12th, 2017. So Brooke comes into the local OB-GYN appointment for a refill of her birth control pills, and she sees a new, different OB-GYN doc, and the new doc, her name's Dr. Boyce, follows up and asks her about her pregnancy. How's it going? Remember, they're all in the dark still and still have no idea that Brooke already delivered. So Brooke started sobbing, confessed that she did what she did, and that she supposedly had told no one that she had a baby, and that no one knows except for Dr. Boyce. Brooke even asked Dr. Boyce to not tell anyone, but doing her due diligence and being a good doctor, Dr. Boyce consulted with a previous OB-GYN doc that Brooke saw, and they immediately contacted the police. Police charged Brooke with 4 counts of aggravated murder, involuntary manslaughter, child endangerment, and gross abuse of a corpse. She lawyers up, and after an 8-day trial that ended just last week, she was acquitted of all charges except for the gross abuse of a corpse, of which she got 3 years probation and 7 days in jail, of which she already done 7 days in jail, so basically 3 years in probation. In a nutshell, the jury did get it right. The problem from the beginning with this case was that the prosecution never was able to prove that the child was alive at the time of his birth. There was no way of proving that, and only one person knows the truth behind that, and that's Brooke. The prosecution had a huge task to prove from the get-go, and without a reasonable doubt that she killed this living being, their case was doomed. And it's that legal phrase, beyond a reasonable doubt, that puts the legal bind and why a lot of folks can slip through the cracks and get away with murder, especially if they have the money. It's just too high of a ceiling to prove, especially when we're looking for 100% certainty with no doubts whatsoever. Here there was a possibility that the baby was not born alive, and that little doubt led to the verdict. And the problem was that the jury was relying on statements that were made during police questioning that were either implied, indicated, or sometimes inferred that the child was alive. One of the nails in the coffin to the prosecution's case was the allegation that Brooke attempted to cremate the body. What happened was a forensic pathologist who examined the bones found in the yard thought that there was burning or charring, which turned out not to be true, by the way. And the police went into a second interview with Brooke, believing this false information, And later, even the state's own expert admitted, again, that there was no charring. So basically, when the jury learned that Brooke was coerced into admitting to this false narrative, it totally disrupted the credibility in any of the police interrogations. So of course the defense rode with the whole manipulative police questioning argument and helped to paint a picture of doubt onto whether anything she told the police was true or not. This is a classic case of the unfair judicial system. It's a simple formula that we see time and time again. Privileged individuals with money plus a mishap or two in investigations such as improper police techniques equals how to get away with murder. To put it how unfair it is, when you have Brooke Skylar Richardson getting to go home to her mommy and daddy free of any murder or manslaughter charges, meanwhile you have a young woman in Alabama named Marshae Jones who earlier this year in June was indicted on manslaughter charges in the loss of her pregnancy, even though police say another woman pulled the trigger and shot her. In other words, the woman who fired 5 gunshots to Marshae's stomach was not charged, but instead Marshae was, who at the time was 5 months pregnant and who lost her baby. So yeah, you can see there is a discrepancy right here between both cases. So now, what are my thoughts to all of this? Do I think Brooke murdered her baby? Well, I don't know, but what I can say is that there is a reasonable suspicion to make me think that she did. Allow me to take a psychological analysis into her more in depth. Now, the big elephant in the room that all parties can agree on is that she was, and still is, suffering with an eating disorder. Individuals with eating disorders are, in my clinical experience, the single most manipulative types of individuals that I have dealt with. Their main goal is one goal only: to strive for perfection and attain control that they will never be able to attain. Hence, as a desperate attempt, these individuals will do whatever it takes to get that perfection, grasp at that control, and maintain some form of homeostasis that they seem adequate to please and to appease others around them, in Brooke's case, her mother. This usually leads to a severe form of manipulating their external environment, and they do so in a very calculating and cunning way. Allow me to give you a quick example. When I was out in Baltimore rotating through an eating disorders unit in my last year of medical school, I was exposed to 12, 13, 14-year-old girls who were so smart that they duped top-notch, well-trained professionals. From being able to slip into the bathroom and throw up without even having to put their finger down their throat in 10 seconds time frame to unseen eyes, to being able to slip small weights somewhere on them, on their body, without the staff knowing, just to prove that they were gaining weight. These are just 2 examples of how smart these individuals are. They will go to any and all extremes of lengths to manipulate their environment to fit their needs by any means necessary. And I could see Brooke doing the same. She threw out red flags when she told the doctor repeatedly at the first OB-GYN appointment that she couldn't have the baby, and she was adamant on not telling anyone that she was pregnant and that she was going to go to college in the fall and cannot have a baby. The baby would disrupt her lifestyle. The baby would disrupt her ability to control. And what she could control at that moment, she was going to do so. The only thing that she could control was her body, and control her environment around her by ignoring everyone, including her friends and concerned doctors, and be in complete denial about anything. The fact that she went to prom and didn't tell anyone showed that she really didn't care about anyone aside from herself. Look at the timeline. She went to prom just a week after having been given that big news. You would think that instead of going to a dance, she would be spending that time informing folks or thinking how she's going to prepare for a new life ahead of her. But no, she seemed more interested in dancing to Bruno Mars songs instead. And there's a good chance that she calculated and planned out the delivery and getting rid of the evidence, alive or not alive, by any means necessary. All instrumental, all calculating, all control, cutting boyfriend out, duping her boyfriend at the prom by explaining her cramping to be related to a period instead of a baby to hide her pregnancy, wanting that fairy tale life of graduating high school and going to college, joining a sorority, cheering for the college football team, getting knocked up by the college football quarterback instead of changing diapers. Her telling the last doctor to not tell anyone. These are just examples of all her trying to control, right? The environment. And I watched much of the trial, and during the entire trial, she sat there, stoic face. A sign of apathy and emotional withdrawal. A sign of no remorse. And don't be fooled with those tears at the end when the judge revealed the jury's verdict. Those tears were tears of guilt and shame. And when she said she was forever sorry, to use her words, quote unquote, she was saying that to herself, her family, and their reputation more than likely. Speaking of family, the X factor into all this is the mother. No one is even talking about her at all. Just watch this clip.
It's in the papers. It's everywhere. The neighbors started calling me. Chris started calling me, and I know she was telling me that they're digging up stuff in her bunker. You're going to be on the news. How do you think Men's and Pat from Bill and Gina Bill? Skylar, I can't support it, but I'm just saying.
So you'd think that the mother would be very empathic, nurturing, and compassionate towards her daughter during this fragile time of need, right? No, the mom seems concerned more about herself and her family's reputation. It's the blind leading the blind. Look, one doesn't just wake up and all of a sudden have an eating disorder. It usually is precipitated from familial dysfunctionality. 9 times out of 10, it usually stems from one or both of the parents placing such high expectations on the poor child early on, forming a symbiotic relationship and essentially having their own ego fused into the child's ego with no room for differentiation. And this continual rubric of expectations and control that and high standards that they themselves probably never attained or achieved, though they're expecting the child to attain so that they can vicariously live and feed off of. This obsessional psychic greed, as I call it, will only serve to burden and control the poor child's immature ego, which in turn is passed on and is converted to acts of control by the child. Kind of like a puppet master consciously controlling an unconscious puppet. So the more conflict in the dyadic or familial relationship, the stronger the eating disorder. The more control in the dyadic or familial relationship, the stronger the eating disorder. Now, could the fact that she was sexually abused have intensified her eating disorder? Absolutely. Individuals with eating disorders have control of restricting their food in comparison to when they had no control to restricting the sexual advances that were thrusted upon them. Now, in Brooke's case, though, just studying the mom and the little snippets that I have seen, I think this is more familial or family related than anything from a psychological standpoint, especially with the eating disorder in Brooke's case being present before the sexual assault that happened when she was 12. So to recap, the jury got it right. Now, do I think that Brooke killed her baby intentionally? I'm not sure. There is a high suspicion, as I had laid out before, to make me wonder though. If anything, I am leaning that the person probably more responsible for the death of the baby is more so the mom than Brooke. In other words, mom, she's the indirect creation of this eating disorder component in her daughter through themes of control and perfection, which led only to the creation of this monster in Brooke, which in turn led to her engaging in all the actions that she did. I.e., if the mom wasn't there or there was no creation of an eating disorder in Brooke, we probably would not even have this discussion at all. But I don't want you to think that I think that the bad guy is the mom. It's just that my psyche senses are pointing that way based on my reading up on the case and my own professional experiences with similar type of clients, patients. Look, this was a sad case all around. There are no winners, there are no losers. This case just exposed the flawed legal system. There needs to be a better universal standardization across the United States to equal the playing field instead of just favoring the ones who happen to have money and can beat the system. Also, they need to better train the police in terms of conducting proper interrogation proceedings and or hire mandatory independent psychologists or psychiatrists or other such trained professionals who can serve to ask the open-ended questions better and more objectively, or at the least serve to be that objective third-party referee who can step in for that person under question if he or she, if there's any sort of a dirty, underhand, threatening behavior techniques from the police. But going back to this case specifically, even the judge in his concluding remarks speaks volumes. He stated that she acted with grotesque disregard for life, to use his words, and even admitted that the law restricted the sentence that he could pass down. Translation? Congratulations, Brooke, you beat the system. Personally, if I were the judge, I would have recommended mandatory family therapy to fix the probable familial dysfunctionality that more than likely created the eating disorder in the first place and was the main catalyst in all of this. But hey, who am I? I'm just a psych guy. But this verdict will set a legal precedent for other future folks in similar cases to get off of murder or manslaughter charges. The family in this case is forever ruined. The negative stigma and judgmental people will follow and haunt them for the rest of their lives. Brooke will forever be known as the baby killer from armchair judges across the country. She'll be known as Casey Anthony Part 2 whether she likes it or not. The mother's strive for perfection and a perfect life, in turn likewise her daughter, will never ever be attained. The downfall was that fateful night in May 2017 that changed everything. I know that Brooke stated that she was forever sorry, but her life and her family's will be forever changed. Alright, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys for watching. It really means a lot to those out there who are actually watching my video. I know it's not the sexiest topics, I know it's not the funnest. We don't do pranks here, we don't do goofy videos, we don't do it for the views, we just do it for you. We just hope that you actually are learning something from each and every one of my videos. You know, it was kind of weird. I was looking back at my last video, and if you kind of notice, it was about a 20-year-old young woman named Brooke. Hey, this video, 20-year-old young woman named Brooke. What are the chances? Not only that, but the last video, if you guys remember, for the 3 people that watched it, I was rocking a Queen t-shirt in this video right here. Bam! Right there, yeah. Anyways, thanks guys for watching. Please subscribe if you want. Please comment if you want. Please like if you want. Whatever you guys want to do. Thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care and bye.